Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. I'm after doing this a few times. I'm back on the location in the Liberties. Thanks for all of the feedback about the last podcast and the location. People really enjoyed it. They really enjoyed the fact that we done it outside and seen a bit of the Tree of Hope. So that's deadly. So we're back here in the Liberties at the Sacred Heart statue in Grey Street, just off Meath Street. Now this statue, not just because of JC, but uh, the location, myself and Noel Riley used to hang out here as kids, so there's a lot of memories. But before we get into that, just give you a little history about the statue. And please don't give out to me if any historians are listening. I get the dates or facts wrong. I'm just kind of giving you a little insight to it. So I think it was built in 1890 and 1880 by Edward Cecil Guinness. He was owner of the Dublin Partisan Company that built these statues. It was built in memory of, I think, Victoria or something that was over one of the Queens of England or something like that. Anyway, but it wasn't always a statue. It was originally a water fountain. I think John Gray, he brought water from reservoirs in Wicklow because a lot of the water was contaminated around that time, so he produced fresh water for the area, which was deadly. Fair play to John Gray. And then I think around 1929, for the centenary of the emancipation, I think JC was brought in, so they erected this statue, which is fantastic. It's a beautiful looking statue. And then there was a bit of damage done to the canopy, and that was renovated, and I think that was around 1929. Or no, 1975. I think they done that up because there was the visit of the Pope coming. 1975. Yeah, that's what that was. I have me notes here, and I think there's a twin canopy out in Dunleary. How ironic! I work out in Dunleary. So that's the kind of history of it from 1880, 1890, right up to 1975. There's lots of work being done on it. Yeah, it's a beautiful statue, but the most important part for me was that me and Noel used to sit here every night when we were kids. We used to hang out here, and there's some amazing stories. Noel is from Rooney Media. He's my sponsor. He's my best mate of a couple of them. But we'll just talk about Noel for the moment. Noel's family just lives down here on the right. Yeah, and every kind of New Year's Eve, we used to come out in Noel's house, run around the statue, banging pots and pans, and then back to Noel's house. There's been loads of parties. There's the street just to my left here is Reginald Street. There's an amazing neighbours committee, a residents committee. There's always stuff going on for the kids. What else? Imelda May's family are just around the corner here, just a couple of houses away. I don't want to kind of point out where our mum and dad lives. That'd be a bad buzz. And hopefully she come on the podcast. Noel's sister does have parties in a house, and Imelda May does be there. So there's lots of things going on here. Oh, also, Imelda May gave my mate Noel's uncle, Eichen's a German man that was married to Noel's auntie. Imelda May gave Noel's uncle mouth to mouth when he had a heart attack. There you go. Imagine that happened to you on your deathbed. Imelda May giving you mouth to mouth, and that's a real story, true story, no bullshit. I swear, me man's holy pictures, that really happened. What else is significant about this area? Yeah, we just grew up. There's loads of members. We used to play football here. There's two trees to me right. In between that, we used to play football. Oh, it's just a deadly area. As I say. Oh, myself and Noel used to sit here. We have a best mate called Dave Collins. He used to walk by here every night when we were kids. I think he was about 12 or 13. He used to hang around with a load of lads, and they fell out. And I says to him, "Do you want to?" He used to walk by with his bag of chips, and I used to say to him, "I said to him, do you want to sit down with us? Do you want to hang out?" And 25 years later, he's still with us, and we can't get rid of him. So it has a lot of memories, good and bad. I'm only messing D. Yeah, it's fantastic. I have my notes here. As I say, I don't normally keep notes, but the fact that I'm doing outside and there's a lot going on, I'm just afraid I might forget something. Normally I do things on the fly. I do it on the bounce, and I remember, but just in case I don't, so I just wrote it down here. What else is to tell you about here? Oh, a little story about Noel Riley, my mate. I'll just give you a little insight of what he's like. His dad, Dinny, as I say, just lives down there, and he's the bargain man. He loves an old bargain. He loves the old discounts, and I think Noel got that skill from him. I hope Noel doesn't mind me telling you this story. And Noel once bought a pair of shoes and got a discount on them. But the reason he got a discount was one was 11 and one was 10 and a half. And he decided to get the 10 and a half stretched in a bootmaker's. But it worked out well. I think he still has those shoes. If I'm not mistaken. He probably doesn't. It was a long time ago, but he did do that. So that's Noel Riley. That's Rooney Media graphics owner. He's a legend. They do great work. That's all about the area. It's an amazing. Liberties has loads of, I'd say, it's rich in history. It's rich in talent. Mel May around the corner, and many, many other people. We've got like the Atomic Dance School. We've actors. We've dancers. We've comedians. Brenda Fricker, as I said before, lives up the road. So yeah, it's trenched with history and talent. So get yourself into the Liberties. Check us out. Even come and see this bad boy. Come and see JC, the Sacred Heart statue. It's a beautiful looking monument. I don't think I probably appreciated it as a kid, and the beauty of it and just the significance of it in the area. It's a kind of focal point. There's lots of tours come around here and stand around and talk about it. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so the interview today is with Brian Pennie. Brian Pennie is a PhD student and a lecturer in Trinity and UCD. I don't like saying this. It's like saying that you have a favourite kid. But this was probably my all-time favourite interview because of what I got from it. Just the conversation, not the interview in itself. We had chats before it. We done it over Skype, and I don't normally like doing them that way because I don't kind of get the energy from the person. But from the minute myself and Brian linked up on Skype, I could just feel the energy across, and it was amazing. He's a fantastic guy. So the kind of stuff we talked about was his life, his PhD. He's got a book coming out. He's a former addict. We talked about that. He shared loads of metaphors, his life, his readings from books, Anthony DeMello, anti-fragility. There's so much. It's packed in there. I learned so much from it, from the podcast, from myself personally. It's changed my life since I've met him, since we have connected on Twitter and reading the stuff. I've made some amazing decisions in my own personal life, work, personal relationships. It's fantastic. It's well worth a listen. You really enjoy it. I say he's in the middle of writing a book. I can't wait till that comes out. I don't know, it's nearly finished, but it sounds like an absolute stomper of a book, and I'd urge you to keep a look out for it. So that's Brian Pennie. I'll let you listen to that now in a minute. Where are we now? What are we talking about? Right. Okay. As always, I'll thank Rooney Media, Rooney Media Graphics, Shannon Hopeline, the Mental Health Warriors. If you have any mental health problems, they're on Facebook. Shannon Hopeline is on Facebook. They have a website. They're doing amazing work in the Liberties around mental health education for kids, low cost counselling. Lisa and Sandra, they're the business. What else? We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're on all the podcast servers across the way. Please share with family and friends. We got a great response from the Fran interview. It really hit home and people loved it. It's the most hits we've got on YouTube. Not that I go and check all that. I told you about that before. I'm not into all that. But just it's been said to me, Jeannie Mac, you got some traction from that. And it's brilliant. It's great for the podcast. It's getting our story out there and other people's story, and hopefully it'll help some people. So that's where we're at. That's all the bag and bowl stuff done. As always, I'll ask you to be kind to yourself in service of the rest of the world. Be kind to you, and you be kinder to your family. You be kinder to your fellow colleagues or people on the street. I'll always say that because that's where I began to practice kindness, when I was kind to myself. So that's it. Oh, be grateful. Practice gratitude. Think of something that you're grateful for today. Just even one thing, and hold that with you for the rest of the day. And do that every day, and then just kind of build on that. Gratitude, it gives you a lovely feeling inside, and I think of something that I'm grateful for. Like even sitting here doing a podcast interview. Fucking hell, I am so grateful that I have an opportunity to talk on a microphone and spread my story out all over the world, or wherever this thing goes. And it's helping people. People on Facebook send me messages saying, the podcast is doing real great work for me, with my mental health or education around nutrition or any of the stories. People are finding the stories beneficial. So I'm really grateful for that, So that is it. So look, go listen to the Brian Pennie interview. And as always, get on, just hang on. There's a car going by. Good morning. It's actually 5:30 here. So people think I'm an absolute lunatic. Doyle was saying to me last night, people probably just think you're some drunk fellow sitting here talking to himself. I said, they wouldn't be far off, would they? There's many a night we've sat here after having a few fizzy drinks locked out of our mind. But sure, look, not today. I'm sober. I'm going to go to the gym after this one. So look, have a listen to the Brian Pennie interview and let us know what you think. Have a fantastic day. Take it easy. Bye-bye. Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. On the show today, I'm joined by Brian Pennie. Brian, what's the crack?
How's it going, Matt? Delighted to be here. What is the crack? What is the crack? I'm after just getting back from a writing retreat down in County Cork, down in Burke, and all is good at the moment, except for the knee injury that I got down there from me eating crap, I think. But otherwise, all is very, very good.
You reckon it was just them eating crap? Was it? You weren't.
I
You weren't a
reckon.
former altar boy, were you, Ratton?
No. I was running up in the mountains down there like a bleeding lunatic, so I still have that addictive nature in me, So it could have been a bit to do with that as well. We'll go with the dodgy field.
Have these visions when people saying they're on read or writing retreats. I'd love to know what they look like. You know what I mean?
Do you know what it is?
It's a bit hippy dippy. What's the crack?
This one was right because it was very spiritual. It's a lovely river with a waterfall running through it, and it's down mountains and down by the coast and all that. But it's pretty much you wake up in the morning. Most people probably get up a bit later than me. I get up, run up a mountain, run back down. You go for breakfast. You go into your room. You write for a few hours. You have lunch. You write for an hour or two, and your writing's done for the day. Then that's too much writing. So then you just do a bit of meditation. I got a massage down there. Went off. I don't drink anymore. Well, I can have the odd glass of wine, but I'm just not really bothered with it anymore. But I went up to the pub. I'd have a bloody it's a lovely it was the only pub in the village, but it has the best view just of the sunrise going down. So I'd sit there with a soda water, just looking at the sun, doing my edits, like amazing, just amazing stuff. Yeah, it was one of the best experiences in my life. Actually, it's something I'll do a lot. Yeah, it was amazing.
Savage. Well, look, guys, I've asked Brian to come on the show today. Brian is a PhD student. He's soon to be author. He's a lecturer in UCD, Trinity College, public speaker. Recurrent addict, and most of all, why I've asked him to come on the show, because of the message that he puts out, and he's a lovely, decent human being, and that's the kind of vibe I'm getting, and I want to kind of let people know his work. You know, we're not going to be talking about anything that you haven't probably heard before, but you have a unique way of delivering it and just make it very accessible to people. I just want to be the transporter of that information.
Cheers! Really appreciate that, Matt, because that's something I love doing, because I think a lot of stuff out there is just overly complicated, and I love to try to take them. I love to explain things as simply as possible. So I love when I hear people saying that, like, it's reinforcing to know that my ego isn't getting in the way. I'm not trying to use big words to explain myself, just to try to do things as simply as possible to give the message. Because what I start to say about myself is I feel like I've been given. I'm just so grateful for it. It's a gift I've been given in recovery, like just the happiness I've been given in recovery, and I just want to share my experience with other people so they can have it as well. Really,
Yeah, and I was only interviewing Jason Brennan. He wrote the book with Brennan Pope, and again, it was all very simplistic, nothing scientific-y and jargon. And I know you have a scientific background, and so does he, and people do. But to get a message across, it needs to be delivered in it without being disrespectful, in a layman's way that people can understand and break it down, use it, and apply it to their own life without trying to decrypt the message and then applying it. You know, they need take-home messages, and I think you do that very succinctly.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's not. I was at fault even when I started off with the public speaking. I was giving too many messages, and again, it was my ego getting in the way. It was like I didn't know it at the time, so I'll give 6 or 7 messages because I like, oh look how much I know, but I didn't even know I was doing it. It was like it wasn't like, oh look how much I know. It was me. It was fear. It was my fear. Say I better. I think I'm lacking self-worth here. I better show that I know a lot so I feel okay and they don't think I'm stupid. So it's like fear transferring into that. So no, just leave yourself at the door. Forget about you and think about when you're giving a message to other people that they want to help themselves. Leave yourself at the door and just think about them. How can they get the information best? And I think that's the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because when I started off my educational path, I tried to do as many courses, as many education things to soothe my ego, because then I will know loads and people will think I know loads and I can help you more. But realistically, it was just this
emptiness inside that I was trying to fill, and it was my ego, you know. But now it's not about that, you know, and it takes a bit of self-reflection to start to understand that, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, yeah, it does. And people talk about courage and all these kinds of words, and I don't I don't feel courageous in any way. I sort of feel lucky if anything, but it's just sort of if there's one thing that gave me a little bit of awareness into myself, it's really just consistency. I think that's the word I always seem to come back to. It's just self-reflection, but continuous self-reflection. And it's a process. It's always a process. So I know I'm missing things now. So it's like be consistent in and be curious. That's the key one as well. Just be curious and think about what you could be missing at the moment, and always be on the lookout for what you might be missing. And I think that's where you leave the ego at the door as well. So your cup is half empty rather than being half full, and you're always trying to add more. I think that's a key piece as well.
Yeah, and that's why I do the podcast. I'm always like, whenever I hear your message or someone else's message, or Tim Ferriss or any of them, I don't care if I've heard it 10 times. I want to keep hearing. I want to be consistent about it. I want to throw as much shit at the wall so eventually stick, you know.
Mistake, yeah,
Anything you want to do in life, whether it be education, weight loss, relationships, work, you got to be consistent,
yeah.
you know. Yeah, consistently good, not consistently
Yeah.
bad. I used to be good at that part, consistently bad,
Yeah, well,
especially in relationships.
and it just goes into good habits and bad habits. It's like bad habits are very hard to break, but you know what? Good habits are very hard to break too. Like what
Yeah,
you call it now. I have a little morning routine that I do all the time. I meditate every morning. It's not this big, huge Zen meditation. I still struggle with meditation,
me
but that
too.
consistency of doing that primes me. Like, the biggest gain of meditation for me isn't to be all like Zen all the time or anything like that. But by having that in my life every day, it primes me or cues me for the rest of the day to be more mindful throughout the day and to try to catch myself. And it's the consistency of doing it every day that makes me more aware during the day. And that's all it
Absolutely.
really is for me, yeah.
And you know what made meditation easier for me is when I done a course down in the Buddhist Center recently. I went down and done a meditation course. Was practicing, saying that I'm practicing meditation, not I'm doing meditation. I'm practicing, and
Yeah,
if it didn't work today, I'm still practicing. Like I practice love and kindness, like I
yeah.
practice on the gym, and I do with a kind of a playful attitude and a non-judgmental kind of thing.
Yeah, jeez, you know what? And you nailed it right there. Playful attitude. I try to have a playful attitude with everything, and it matter because like it's a great quote. I think I love it. I think I posted there not so recently. I think it's Oscar Wilde. Life is too like what's it? Life is too short to be taken seriously. Our life is too important. Life is too important to be taken seriously. And I love that. I love that flick on that.
Deadly.
Like it is. Life is so important. So don't take it seriously. Have a laugh. Be playful with everything, and just have a nice, curious, playful attitude. You know.
Okay, deadly. That's a great show. Great start. I mean, you say that you're writing a book. Can you give us any insights that what's it about, what's going on?
Yeah, I can't go into too much detail about the
Deadly.
book at the moment, but basically it's gonna be about me story, my life story going
Okay.
forward, I suppose, of me experience. The main thing is I am gonna be talking about what helped me and how where I was
Mm.
how what I was like growing up. Like I suffered badly with anxiety, and it tortured my mind. I tortured myself with my own mind. So I'll be talking about how I got into addiction, how I got out of addiction, and basically the tools I used to be consistent to stay out of addiction. But it's more of a story. It's more of a book that's going to be more of a story rather. It's not self help at all. Like it's more
Deadly,
about
deadly.
my life.
How's it
Yeah,
all coming together for you?
it's coming together nicely. It's interesting. So, and this is the learning process that I love as well. Like, I went down to the writing retreat and I says, right, I need to get 10,000 words. That was me goal, right? Get like that's nearly a seventh of the book, you could say, right? So I
Mm.
went down there, got me 10,000 words, built on what I was already there. But then I talking to other writers down there, much more experienced than me, and another woman that runs the house. She's an editor. She says, cut, cut, cut. So I ended up with 6,000 words. But then I learned it's about telling your story. It was like my ego was getting in the way again. I was like summarizing my life, trying to get it in. My ego now was getting in the way. Oh, I better tell them about that. I better tell them about that. People don't want to know about the things I was trying to tell them about. So I'm delighted. I think I've made a decision today. I'm probably going to scrap every bit of that I've written so far, scrapped a lot of it, and start from scratch again. But that's the learning process. I'll be able to do it much more easier. Now, it wouldn't be all scrapped. The guts will
Yeah.
be there, and I'll be taking pieces of it, the little story bits. But that was part still of the process. So it's really interesting. But like I've literally made the decision to scrap a lot of what I've done. But I'm totally fine with that. I'd still say the book is going great because I'm learning how to write what I want to write. And
Yeah.
I'm confident. I'll be a bit bold about that, I suppose. I love a challenge. I do love a challenge. So I've only a couple of months to write the book, so I do need to get on it. But I do love a challenge, and I'll focus when I need to focus. But yeah, it's going great. It's actually going great, even though I'm learning so much. This is the thing. I'm learning so much, and that's what great is for me, you know?
Yeah, the more I've
Yeah.
done of education, the more I've moved away from being more hungry. I used to try do courses, for the wrong reason. Now I've just become a student of life, and I just want to learn, even if it's about myself or about other people. And again, it's back to that attitude of being playful and open-minded, and everything
Yeah.
is a novelty the way kids see the world.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah, there's a lovely quote actually by Eckhart Tolle. We mentioned him before we got on there, and
I love them.
it's a quote. It's a quote that would have I would have thinking I would have just rejected. The shutters would have coming down because God was mentioning it, but it's nothing to do with God.
No, I think that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. He sort of transcribes things from the Bible in a completely different way. So what the thing was to get into heaven, we need to return as children to enter the kingdom of heaven. And what he meant by that is we need to go back to having a curious, playful attitude and get out of our bleeding heads to enter the happy life.
Get
And
out of our
that's
bleeding heads.
yeah.
I was listening to him as well, and he transcribed what actually heaven. He didn't. It wasn't meant as in heaven is up there and it's a place. It's
Yeah,
an open space, but the
yeah,
open space is within ourselves.
yeah, the awareness.
Yeah, and repent is not actually repent. Repent is turn around back into yourself, and so the kingdom of heaven is within yourself, and it's this space of consciousness. I was
Yeah.
like, is it not this hotel upstairs that me man and dad are always going to mass trying to get into?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't
No,
it?
it's not. And it made me less weary of JC and God and all. I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck.
but it's like it's the way it's been twisted over the years, the way the translations have been taken. But the original writings, if you look at them, like I haven't got time to be looking at all these scriptures and all that. But I love listening to people like him that can
Yeah,
translate it
yeah.
for me. You
Do it
know,
for
it's
me.
nice. Do it for me, yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. I've only so much time.
Come here. What's your PH on? Or your
Um,
PhD? Sorry.
the PhD is on. It's in the Rutland Centre. So the Rutland Centres for anyone listening is an addiction centre in Dublin in Ireland. And basically, what my PhD is looking at is we're doing a mindfulness intervention for people in early recovery. So people that have just gone through the Rutland Centre. I mean, actually, my brother James, I was actually chatting to him the other day. He's totally fine with me talking about it. He's
Yeah.
in the Rutland Centre at the moment for addiction. He's actually in there. I was only with him at a family day yesterday. Oh, yes, I was chatting to you about that. I was
Yeah.
only in there yesterday. He's doing well. He's going through hardship and all that kind of stuff. But he won't be allowed in my study because bias and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Gotcha.
basically, it'd be the likes of him after doing 35 days in there, getting out of the Rutland Centre. You go into an aftercare program, but we'd be taking people, participants, clients that are interested in doing an 8-week mindfulness intervention. So it's mindfulness-based relapse prevention. So it's based on mindfulness-based stress reduction, but it's honed for relapse prevention. So to observe, catch your triggers, catch your cravings, all that kind of stuff. And we're just going to look to see what changes over 8 weeks. So it's really we're doing I don't want to get all techie on the science, but it's like we're doing a predictive analysis. It's like a machine learning analysis that's going to predict, does mindfulness in early recovery work for everybody, or does it specifically work for people with certain variables? Like it works for someone high in anxiety but not for someone low in anxiety. It works for people that have high impulsivity but not for people with low impulsivity.
That
So we're
sounds
working
fantastic.
out, yeah, we're working out what mindfulness, what the needles that mindfulness moves. That's what we're really looking at and see can we get at and that, you know.
Wow. When do you hope to wrap that up?
Oh, it'll be another 2 years. So there's 3 chapters of the PhD. That's the primary intervention. There's another one around wanting more and addiction. I've actually published on this before for my undergrad, so I'm very interested in the idea that if people feel a bit crap, they want to avoid the present moment. They don't want to sit with feeling crap. So they look for something outside of themselves. And the more, the better. So if you think of retail therapy, I'll go shopping. The more clothes, the better. And if you think, right, comfort eating, I'll get something to eat. The more, the better for comfort eating. For drug addicts or alcoholics, or give me a drink. The more, the better. Take it away from yourself. So I was it's mad. So I was started thinking from my undergrad, says, is there something related to addiction and materialism? Because I always notice people in addiction sort of, I was not materialistic, but just wanting more thing, you know. And I found there was a relationship between that. So I'm sort of looking at the language, the self-talk around people in addiction. That dude, are they prone to wanting more? Because when I got clean, I started playing golf. But I didn't start playing golf once a week. I started playing golf 15 times a week. And I was going around the meetings then when I was in AA and all that, and I was going around the meetings, and I was like, I remember a couple of people saying, I'm addicted to anything that makes me feel good. Anything that makes me feel good, I want more of it. So I'm looking at the relationship of this wanting more and feeling crap. So that's another part of this, the PhD that I'm interested in as well, you know.
Yeah, I can resonate with a lot of that, you know, because I used to drink, you know, and take drugs and party like fuck. And I want more, and then when I gave that up, I wanted more of something else. And it's never not good enough. You know, it's this, and like what you said, it's an addiction to feeling good. It's those
Yeah.
dopamine receptors, isn't it?
Yeah, back to that. I love Gabor Mate to say that it's chasing the hungry ghosts.
I love.
Like,
I read his. I read a lot of his stuff, and I listened to a lot of stuff. I read recently the book on ADD, Scattered Minds,
oh, I have to read that.
because he has ADD himself.
Yeah, I think I have as well. Yeah.
Yeah, same to myself. I haven't been. I self-diagnosed myself, but I confess I was like ticking things off in the book. On yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah.
But he's fantastic, Abermate. He was
Ah,
over here in Dublin. I think it was a lot of money to go and see his gig. Let's say.
yes, he was in Cork as far
Yeah,
as I know. Well, I know, I was
360 or
raised that.
something. 360 for
Yeah, I know, and I had no money at the time. I just had no money. I was working in
no
Canale,
washer.
getting six. Yeah, I had no wash at €6 an hour. I was getting plus tips. About
Oh,
six, no, about another 450. No,
come here. Your life wasn't always on this trajectory of a PhD, uh, studying neuroscience, all the stuff that you're doing. You had a life in it of addiction. Could you share us a little bit about some of that? You know,
yeah. Yeah, no problem, Matt. So for me, and what I'd always say, I came from a loving family, and there was problems. There was addiction problems in the family. There was alcoholism in the family, but it was a loving family, and my parents done great with the tools that they were giving themselves. There's a lot of mistakes made. I think all parents make mistakes, but I had a lot of trauma. Going back on the Gabor Mate, like the first chapter in my book is about what you call it. I won't go into the details of it, but it was when I was a baby. I had a huge operation. I nearly died as a baby. Then I had a lot of trauma moving to Canada with my parents. My mom couldn't go, so I was separated from my mom for a couple of months when I was about 4 or 5 years of age. And then a lot of drink driving that I was very aware of as a kid. So I had an awful lot of trauma in my life as a kid. And even though there was a lot of love in the family, there was a lot of mistakes made, let's say,
and
from
a
that
lot of mental
perspective.
scars. They
A
just make
lot,
an imprint on the brain. They
yeah,
don't go
yeah.
away.
They don't go away. So I sort of developed high anxiety and a compulsive thinker. So really, where I lived, I grew up in an area called Ladieswell in Blanchardstown, and it was a rough area growing up, and drugs were everywhere, and it was just not really a matter. I had a curious mind as well. It was a matter of time before I was going to use drugs. And when I started using drugs, it was just like, this is deadly. I didn't realize that at the time, but basically, it was taking me away from myself.
Oh, 100%.
And yeah, and when I done heroin for the first time, it was like, whoa. I'm writing about that right at the moment. Is my first experience with heroin, and the way I've actually couldn't believe how much I'm talking about. Like I'm talking, a lot of people don't know about heroin, but it turns into like a golden brown little puddle, and then you can pull it off the foil, and it's like this shard of glass. And I'm talking about it as if it's my long lost love. Like even now, I get excited just talking about it. I loved it because of it. It filled that. It filled artificially filled that hole that was inside me.
I know that
So,
feeling.
oh man, so I done heroin when I was 17, and I didn't think I was a real addict. Inverted commas for I thought it was too good to be an addict. That was my attitude. I says I'm not that. I remember feeling sorry. This is madness. I remember feeling sorry for people that I thought were whatever normal was that didn't do heroin because they weren't in on the secret that you can do heroin and have a normal life if you're clued in, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that lasted for about 3 years, and I started. I was a drinker, doing coke, is and all. Got a decent job, but I was always on the gear. But then I had a panic attack, and really bad anxiety kicked in when I was about 2021, and I pretty much got strung out from there, physically addicted. But I still pushed it back for a long time. But then I think it was about 22, 23. I went way too far, and there was a drought. There was a drought on one year, and I had no gear, and I couldn't work. I was I had to go. I had to take 2 weeks holidays, I think, because I couldn't work. Just going through withdrawals, it was fucking horrible. It was. So in the end, I had to go on a methadone program. So I was a registered heroin addict for 12 years. Like gone, giving urines every week, going to the chemist every second day, drinking the methadone in front of them because my urines were dirty, all that kind of crap. But at the same time, holding down a job, snorting coke, doing anything, taking tablets, all that kind of stuff. The one thing as well, Matt, the only thing that brought me to my knees, I still think I'd be a heroin addict to this day. What brought me to my knees was tablets. The heroin sort of stopped working. I couldn't do coke or any uppers anymore because it just made me too anxious. So the heroin stopped working and I started taking ridiculous amounts of Zopiclone, sleeping tablets, benzos, all that kind of stuff. And they just warped my mind. Like I was still doing gear, methadone and drinking and anything just to numb myself.
Right.
But they brought me to the edge, and that's when I started having seizures and all, and that's when I lost my job and I lost everything in my life, and I was sort of forced to try to get clean. And I won't go into the depths of that. It's a long story, but basically I went through a lot of seizures, and it just it shook me to the core. It's like the world just chewed me up and spit me out within the space of a couple of weeks. And I was raw to the bone. I was. But that was the opening, and that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, but the best thing that ever happened to me, you know?
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Isn't it mad the resilience that human beings have? You held it together, you had work, family. Do you
Yeah.
look back now and go, how did that happen? Like, how did
Yeah.
I hold it all together?
I'll give you a laugh. My sister will kill me, but she said I can put it into the book. What you call it? She doesn't like the word she used, like the C word. But so I apologize for using the C word right now in
Go
a
for it.
sec. But she says like I tormenting the whole family. Like I really was tormenting them in the fact that they couldn't get on with their lives because I was just nearly dead. And like you're talking about the resilience that the human body has, how I was still alive is beyond me.
Mm.
And I was just killing myself physically, mentally. I looked so bad. And my sister then got news that I had a big massive seizure, and I was brought to the rush to the hospital. I think it was up in the gaff, was it? She got a phone call to say Brian's having a big massive seizure. James thinks he's dead. Blah blah. My younger brother thought I was dead because I had blood coming out of my mouth. So my sister was coming up to the gaff. She had to get her boyfriend to drive her up, her husband now, because she couldn't drive. She was shaking, and she'd stayed away from me to protect herself for a long time. And she was like driving up to the house. She says, "Right, Dad's gonna be broken hearted, but I'm glad because it's better for the family that he's dead." Like in a loving way, she said this. James will be hurt, but he'll get over it. My mom will get over it. It'll be better for her. So she had buried me and all, literally. And then when she came into the gaff, she says, like, we got on great now. We have a fantastic relationship now. And she walked into the gaff, and I was sitting on the sea, hanging on the sea, and then I was like that. I leaned up to her.
Just goofing off.
Goofing, I was still in a jock. I was going through withdrawals at the time, and trying to get clean. And she was just like, "How is that cockroach cunt still alive?" She said,
That was Holocaust.
yeah. But that's the strength of the human body. Like it just carries on. The heart just keeps beating. Like not all the time for everyone, but it just shows you the resilience that's there, like within us, like, you know.
Don't they say resilience the number one predictor of success in people, in young
Yeah,
people?
yeah. Persistence, resilience, all them kinds of things, yeah.
Right, that's a difficult period. At what point did it start to change where you thought, right, PhD, I know you didn't start off PhD, education. Where did that then kick in?
That kicked in. That was mad because I'd no thoughts about doing that in any way whatsoever.
Same as myself. Fucking
Yeah,
the last thing in the world I want to be doing.
yeah, but when I went into detox, so I spent a couple of weeks at home before I was allowed to get into detox because it was an insurance risk for detox because of the seizure. So I had to do a lot of that at home on my own, but not me, my brother was there with me. But when I got into detox, then all the benzos were out of my system. So I nearly felt, even though I was still on methadone, I had to get off the methadone and the opiates and all. I felt a new lease of life in me. I was like, I'm not getting through this. Maybe there's something. Maybe I can do. But I was still holding on to. I think I was still holding on to. I'd been doing some drugs to handle anxiety. I hadn't completely given up on all the drugs. Or drink was definitely my future, and I don't know what else. I just hadn't given up on addiction. But when I went in there and I got off, they came off the gear. I started special addict things start kicking in again. I was saying, geez, I don't think I'm gonna get withdrawals. I think I'm just gonna sail through this. But it kicked in fucking hard, it did. And whatever happened to me through the hardship of that, then again, it was like the seizures started to crack the shell. And it was like when I went through the detox, then coming off the opiates, like that was 15 years of opiate addiction, the first time ever coming off that since me last, the drought 12, 13 years before that. And it cracked, it broke open the rest of the shell that was there and it fell away. It literally made me raw as anything. And something sort of flicked in me. I don't know what it was, like a complete perspective shift I had. And it was just like this light came into my life. I can't even describe it. Just like this energy came into my life. And I was just obsessed with learning. Obsessed with learning. I remember I was going, there's this girl called Dr. Johanna Ivers. I'm working with her at the moment on the PhD. So she came into the study she came into the detox facility. She was doing an fMRI study with us. So she was bringing us out for a few days, full clean after a long-term methadone use, and bringing us into the scanner in St. James's. But I remember Natalie was the clinical psychologist there, and I remember saying to Natalie the day I was going to St. James, I says, Natalie, can you get someone to take notes for me? Says, I don't want to miss any of the curriculum. And she remembers laughing, saying, you're in here to get off fucking heroin. You're in here to live and get off heroin. It's not a curriculum, you know what I mean?
Curriculum.
So, yeah, I called it a curriculum. Because I said, I don't want to miss Maslow's theory. That sounds deadly. Like thinking all this mad shit and the Johari window. I was obsessed with Maslow's theory and the Johari window. And I think
you were already on the foot of it, the basic needs.
Yeah, so she gave me a book while I was in there. I read my first spirituality book in there. It was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's not the best book in the world, but it's a great starter book. And it's a great starter book, actually.
Is that your man Jay something? No.
No, yeah, you're on the right lines. I'll come back to me. Sharma, Robin Sharma.
Right.
Robin Sharma. Good book. But so that put me onto that. But I remember Johanna was doing like the psychometric testing with me, and I was sort of not guessing the questions, but I was sort of asking her questions. And when I was asking her the questions, I was asking her a question about the next question. So she was sort of looking at me and she said, geez, you have a very sharp mind. So I thought it was brain damage from the seizures, because I had a mad experience where I sort of lost language for a bit. Concepts didn't make sense to me anymore. It's probably a bit of the restructuring back in my brain. Mm-hmm. But I remember saying to myself, geez, maybe I can go back to college and study this stuff. And I just got this thing into my head. It's in my diary. I only brought my diary upstairs because I have it out for the book. And I have in the diary, think long and hard about this, but don't go back to normal work. Think hard about going back, following your passion. And I think I'd made up my mind. My gut reaction was, I'm gonna go back to college. And I just said, fuck it. I just went back to study psychology. I went out to Maynooth. The CAOs were closed except for Maynooth, so that made me go to Maynooth. And it was the best thing ever, because I done psychology there, and it was just amazing. I've some great friends. My supervisor in there is one of my best friends now. Like, she's amazing. She is. Like, we're really good friends now. And I've made great relationships. I was only out with the professor from there that works in Ghent now. We were out for a night out a couple of weeks ago. I made great friends in Maynooth. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and that's where we have a similar friend with Dr. Trassa Kenny.
Oh, yes. I've never actually met Trassa.
I mean,
no. So I was due to meet her at one stage.
About your work.
Yeah, so she was introduced by a friend of mine, Sharon. And she's Sharon's lecturer. So I was due to go in and do a talk. So I'm due to meet Trassa soon enough, I'd say.
She's fantastic. She's just one of the good people in life.
Yeah,
she's really kind to me over the years. Just giving love, kindness, and just giving her genuine energy. Do you know what I mean? You can just feel it off her. I can smell it off people, and just her presence is fantastic. You love her. She's
dying to meet her now, even more. Lovely.
My next interview is with her.
Right.
And we could have talked for hours. She's fantastic at what she does. It seems like you were doing two things at once. You were on the spiritual path. You were looking after your mental health, but then also the education part as well. And you were doing two journeys at once. Was there any point when you started on the education that you had insecurities? I know I did when I went back, because of my background, because of the story I was telling myself. I'm from the flats. I'm from the inner city. My accent. Did you ever experience that?
I didn't, Matt. And the thing here is, it's really funny. I was only talking to someone about this recently as well. Now I had problems with education. I think a good thing to come back to would be when I got too obsessed about education, and I sort of lost the spiritual path, and I lost that sense of lightness and beauty that came into my life, and I was gonna blank it all to get that back. But I think chat about that in a minute, because that's the dangers of really going down one route. But for me, I remember I used to, like, even to keep myself sane in addiction, I had to believe that I was okay. And the lies I told myself, I didn't believe I was a real addict. Like, I was bleeding taking I was addicted to heroin for 15 years, and I was a registered addict for 12 years, giving a euro in every week, but I didn't think I was a real addict. What qualifies a real bloody addict? Like, that was the delusion in my head. And what happened was, I remember thinking the belief that, yeah, but I probably, when I did convince that I'm, yeah, right, I'm doing drugs like everyone else, but I'm fucking deadly at it. Oh, you always get me drugs. So I was nearly convinced I'm a deadly addict. This is the mad thinking that made it okay. I'm good at what I do. And it was this ego thing kicking in. So I sort of always earned money through my addiction. I kept my job for most of it. And then I schemed. I won't go into me scheming right now, but you can imagine some of the shit I got up to. I schemed and I made a lot of money. It was drug dealing I was involved. I'm pretty open about that. It'll be in my book anyway. So I was selling drugs, and it was really just to feed me habits. So I never made a dime. It was just to sell drugs to get drugs. That's all literally it was, to other addicts, really. And so I had a lot of money all the time to feed me habit. So I never really had to suffer in withdrawals. And I think I never went through the shame and the emotional turmoil that a lot of other addicts I've noticed have. So when I look back at my addiction, it's just like a comatose. It's just like I was comatose because I always had drugs. And it was full blown delusion. I twisted my mind so much. I went to places where I never was. I told people that I was in that place and then believed I was actually in that place. I don't even know if it was in Galway at this level. I've twisted my mind so much because some story we whipped up sometime about staying in a gaff. And what it was madness, like. And I remember then when I got out of addiction, I sort of had this weird belief about myself, and I wasn't going to Minute, and I don't want to say this in a very arrogant, boastful way. It's just the reality of the situation. I went to Minute, and I had to do this interview to get onto the psychology course, and he turned around and said to me, "What you call it? Look, I think we'll put you in an access program for a year, and then you can come next year." And I got up out of my seat and I said it to your man and says, "Here, I'm not here to take part." Says, "I'm here to kick ass. I want to be the best in this college. So I'm not here just to be part of the fucking furniture, mate." And he was looking at me as if I had 10 heads. And that's just the belief. I had a fundamental belief that I was gonna go in there and it's not about beating other people because I'm all about beating myself, but I had a fundamental belief I was gonna go in there and I was gonna do brilliant. And I done really well when I went in. So I think belief was a core ingredient of my recovery. I believed I could do it and I done it. It's like there's a great quote, one of my favorite quotes by Henry Ford. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's where the belief thing comes in. So even if it was delusion, it was built on delusion that I thought I was grand. I'll always think I'll be bulletproof, but to an extent, it can work in certain scenarios. It's dangerous at the same time.
100%. I used to always say, "Oh, I'm a have a go hero," and I used to think that was just superficial. But really, I always believed that if you asked me to do something, I've got the resources that I'd be able to do it.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I'll
yeah,
do it. And if I
yeah,
don't, I'll get someone that can do it.
yeah,
And that's why I used to always say yes to things. So, can you do that? And I go, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
believe that it's that self belief, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I suppose that the core piece of that then as well is if you miss the mark, look at it like what we were talking about with failure. It's not a failure; it's part of the learning process. So, like if someone says to me, "Which college you think you can climb Mount Everest?" I bet you I can climb Mount Everest. No, I'm not going to jump up on the first bleeding swing and think I can climb it. But it's like there'll be failures, there'll be learning, there'll be
Yeah.
failures, there'll be learning. I failed. I didn't fail a couple of exams, but I had a couple of crap exams in Minute, but they were part of the process of learning, and it's like not belief. It's not blind belief. It's belief mixed with hard work, the ability, and I think that's where the belief comes in because you're going to put the effort in. You're going to be flexible and learn from your mistakes. That's where the belief comes from.
100%. If you know in the back of your mind that you've got a fantastic work rate, because I never used to think I was the cleverest person in the world, where I have a phenomenal work rate. I'll grind, I'll grind, I'll grind. And I think that's embedded in you that
Yeah,
you'll succeed. And I say that to all people, even the people that work with now brain injury. Because if you had a really good work ethic before you had the brain injury, that will get you through this.
yeah,
And it's always harder to work with people that didn't have that, people that were smart and got through school handy. And then when they're met with a brain injury or a challenge of disabilities, they find it hard to put the effort in.
yeah.
They're already a step back, but that again, it's about insight and awareness, and we develop that with them. Here's one for you. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in this period? In this,
In in the 5 years. So so
yeah,
and that comes back to the thing I was talking about and what we should come back to. So
mm,
when I was like I'll just to go back over it again. Whatever happened to me, I had a perspective shift in detox. So whatever happened to me, it was like my mind. What I noticed was, and that's what directed me PhD research. I'm looking at self talk and the impact of mindfulness on it. Me mind basically went quiet. And because my mind went quiet, it's like anxiety just left me. So I'm like, why the hell did that happen? And looking at the research, and I don't know if the research has the answers, but it's the best empirical evidence so far. I'm studying a theory that shows that emotions travel through language. So the language you use determines how you feel to an extent, like, So it's called relational frame theory. It's pretty high on the academic. Well, yeah, I won't go into it now, but it's really what it shows is that emotions travel through language, and language including your self-talk. So if you have an inner critic that's always giving out and saying you're crap, sadness and self-loathing go with that, and the emotions will travel through that language.
I can really resonate with that.
Yeah, and my language was always, my self-talk was always about fighting anxiety, fighting anxiety. So I was gifted with my mind going quiet, and then anxiety just seemed to leave me. So it was like this energy came into me, and I just felt as light as a bloody feather. It was like sensory experiences, like greens were so green on the farm where I was at detox. It was like things smelled so good. I mean, what you call it, me supervisor says when she met me in college, she was only talking about this when we were out recently. She says it was like a baby experience, and everything was like wow and new to me, that way. She says it was bizarre to watch, but that's what it was like because I was comatose for so many years. But when I was I done really, really well in college. Now I put a lot of hard work in. I was not even close to being the cleverest in that class, but by putting the hard work in, I won a couple of awards. I done really, really well. But then I start chasing that, and at the end of second year, I know. So I remember we were going through all the tests and the exams at the end of the year, and I remember in the library and I noticed just don't feel great, and I was like, oh my god, it just dawned on me. Oh my god, I've lost that lovely life feeling that I had. But you know what scared the life out of me? I
Yeah.
didn't even see it. I lost it in unawareness, and it scared the life out of me. How can the most profound thing that's ever happened to me go away without me even noticing? So it was a massive wake up call for me. And I remember saying, right, I'm leaving college. This isn't worth it. I'm going to Nepal. I'm going to a Buddhist center. I want this back, which would have been the wrong call because I would have been striving to get me spirituality back, chasing.
Chasing the
And
poop.
yeah, so it might as well have been chasing heroin, chasing the dragon, like, you know what I mean? But what you call it, and then talk about reaching out. I reached out to a guy. Well, obviously I couldn't get to Eckhart Tolle, but I ended up getting through to this guy called Stephen Taylor, and he wrote a book called The Leap that I was reading at the time, and he's part of the Eckhart Tolle collection. So he's an academic, and he says to me, he says academia is very good to the life and spirituality if you like meditation and all that stuff, if you balance it right. So I says, right, I had to get through to him. I think I'll give this another go, but I'm going to double down on my program. But then I also went out. I was sort of called, you could say, to this woman called Judith McAdam. She's a Reiki master. She's actually, I wouldn't even call it. I know there's a lot of Reiki masters out there, but Judith has something about her. She has this energy, this presence about her. I don't know what it is. Every time I'm in her presence, I feel like something's released from me or whatever it is. I don't know what it was. I wouldn't have gone to her. I wouldn't have gone to her if I heard she does Reiki or energy healing. So I was sort of anti that kind of stuff at the time. But I went over to her through a mutual friend, my physio, Lorraine. And she said you need to talk to this woman. And I went over and I just got on great with her. But she done a Reiki energy healing session with me. And it was the most bizarre experience ever. It was like just an energy, just like, oh, it was like my body was nearly vibrating. And she was able to feel it at the same time. Like she was coughing, saying, oh, you're really releasing. And I was like, this is mad. This is like sci-fi stuff. Like I wouldn't have been, I still struggle to believe it because it's a bit wacko, like, you know what I mean? And she just said you just had a huge release of energy or whatever, like, and she was opening windows and all. And it was like, I knew something happened. And she says, go home and have a sleep and just have somebody have a sleep because you're going to be very, very tired. And I remember driving home. I says, that was wacko, that was. And I remember driving home saying, look, I'm too busy to go to sleep or whatever. But then I got home. I was going to do a bit of work studying, I think, because I'm back into that routine.
Or
And I got back and I says, no, that was very profound. I'm going to have something to eat and do what she says. And I remember I went up to meditate on my bed and it felt like a car was sitting on me in a nice way, not like squashing me, but in a heavy way. I felt so heavy and I said, oh, I'm just going to go sleep for a few hours. And I woke up feeling as light as a feather. And it was like it was like ever since then, that just plateaued me back up to a level of just feeling good again. And it was then that I really doubled down on my meditation. I've meditated every day since then, and I developed for myself a program for life that's around decision making, neutralizing negativity from my life, and a program that I developed that I done life coaching with a couple of clients that I had, and it's what I talk about in all my talks. And I've lived that program, and that's the program I developed, and I'm sharing with other people. So I wouldn't even have that program only for that other negative event in my life. So it's all negative things create good things if you look at them the right way. If you look at them as an opportunity to learn,
That's fantastic. Where is that girl based?
She is based over in Ely House over in Rathfarnham. Now, she's been so successful that I don't think she's taken on individual clients anymore, but she has loads of group talks and stuff. She wrote a book called The Source, a great book called The Source as well. But Judith had a huge impact on my life. Yeah, she really did.
Savage, savage. That's fantastic. What is your why in life now, Brian?
My why? What is my why? And it's funny, I've been asked this before. I remember reading Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. And he sort of says is that the reason why people's whys are very hard to verbalize is because your why comes from your reptilian brain, your feelings part of your brain, that you do it because you feel like you want to do it.
Yeah.
And he says what gets in the way is the new brain, the rationalizing brain that says, that figures out, analyzes ways of not to do it or do it or whatever like that. And so I really do struggle with what your why. And I know it's related to purpose, but and it's related to values as well. My purpose in life, and it's my mission statement is, right, with a relentless belief that we are what we think. My purpose, my mission is to show people that change is possible, but demonstrating actionable steps through a lived experience. So I don't talk about things I've read about. I'll read about them, I'll act on them. If they work for me, I'll share them. But I will say they only work for me. But it's really showing people that change is possible through consistency and through action. But back to why. Why is a bit different. So why do I do what I do? Right. If I'm being fully honest with this right now, I think I came from addiction for so long, right? Two of my core values is connection and compassion, right? Now, I don't feel massively connected to everyone all the time, and I'm not naturally compassionate, but I see them and value them in other people. Humility is another one. I value them in other people, and I behave in my way towards them. So for my why, I think the meaning of life is to give purpose to other people. But because of the life I've spent in addiction, I always think of myself first. It's just I'll be honest about this. It's always about what can I get out of this? What opportunities in this for me? So, but my why in life is to change that way of thinking. I'm always trying to behave me way into a more valued based way of thinking. And my why is to eventually live in a way where I think first of other people. And I hope to do that by sharing the message and giving to other people. Obviously, you have to look after yourself first around the self-care thing. Like I'm building, I was going to say an empire. That wouldn't sound good.
Sound like Conor McGregor.
Yeah. So I'm building a business at the moment. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to earn enough money for myself so I don't have to worry about money anymore. So I can really just share my message with other people. And I suppose that would be me why at the end of the day. So I'm comfortable enough just to work on get me PhD out of the way and just go and share my message and share my experience, my life experiences with other people. And I suppose that's me why, if that's a why.
Yeah, that's fucking sounds great to me, and I could resonate with all that kind of stuff. Absolutely fantastic. I love it, and it comes across. You come across as a genuinely decent and authentic person, and that you can. I hope people that can feel that too. I love a lot of the work. I've watched a lot of your videos. Can you share with us the boat metaphor that you talk about? And Classic actually shared that with me.
Yeah.
I use that all the time now, and I kind of, my thing now is when I'm judging, I go, am I practicing love and kindness? That's my why in life. But your one now for me, and I throw it in there, is, will this make my boat go any quicker? I'd love you to share that with the listeners.
Yeah, and it's such a great metaphor because it's so easy to remember, So where I got it from, I remember reading a blog one day, and it was about the Great Britain rowing team in the 2000 Olympics. They basically used the rowing team. They used to ask themselves, will it make the boat go faster when they were faced with a decision? So if before the Olympics, the run up to the Olympics, someone said to them, let's say one of the, Steve Redgrave, I think he was one of them, he says his wife says, I'd want to go for dinner and a glass of wine. He would say, will it make our boat go faster? If it didn't, he said no. If it did, he said yes. So that was their metaphor for the Olympics. Any decision they had to make, they would ask themselves, will it make our rowing-boat go faster? And that's how they based their decisions. So I love that metaphor. So it's so simple and it works. So I've developed a metaphorical boat for my own life that's based on my values, purpose, and goals. So we talked about my purpose in life. That's to show people that change is possible, basically. And an example of that would be like, I'm super busy at the moment, or I have a lot of stuff going on. But if I was asked to do a school talk at the moment, I would say to myself, right, will it make me boat go faster? That will make my purpose boat go faster, because I really love giving to young people, giving these tools to young people because they need them. So even if I'm really busy, that would make that a yes. And that's how I balance the decisions. For my goals at the moment, I have 3 major goals in my life at the moment. It's my PhD, my book, and my speaking career. So if I'm faced with a decision, I'll say, will it make my boat goals go faster? If it does, I say yes. If it doesn't, I say no. But the real key piece of that is, and it's because it can't be all about your goals and your purpose and all of it. If the life is too complex. So that's where the values piece comes in, is to give you a balance. So I talked about I'm very clear. I reflected on my values. I'm very clear on my values. And some of them is compassion and sharing, connection, accountability. I do what I say. Boldness, being bold, taking risks. Another value, clarity, stillness. They're my values. So I basically say, if I'm faced with a decision and it's in me gut, I'm like, oh, will it make me boat go faster? Will it make me goals go faster? Does it make me purpose go faster? And if I'm a little bit conflicted, I'll just scan my values and see where it sits. So I'll say, is this decision, am I chasing a goal instead of being connected with my family? Am I being compassionate? Should I be trying to help someone here instead of trying to goal-directed behavior all the time? So it just keeps me aligned with my core values. If I'm not taking risks, and I'll say to make a decision, will I email that person I don't know, and I'll say on my values, I say, yeah, you haven't been bold lately. Be bold, do something a bit bold, and I'll do it. So it just really makes me align with my core values that I've thought deeply about. But the goal in this metaphor is that you can make quick decisions by scanning your metaphorical boat really quickly on things you've thought deeply about. But in saying that now as well, not everyone that listening to this podcast will very quickly have scanned their values and stuff like that as well. So pick one goal, one purpose, one value. Like you could say, right, you value honesty. So to be honest to other people and to yourself. Your goal could be improve mental health. And your purpose could be better relationships with your family. So basically just scan your metaphorical boat and say, right, will I go for a drink tonight with the lads? I'll say, right, am I being honest with myself? Do I really want to go for a drink, or am I running away from myself? So that's that piece there, the values piece. You'd scan your goal, say, will it make my mental health go faster, get better? No, not really. Will it make the relationship with my family be better? No, not really. So that's making your boat go very bloody slow. So it really just gives you a nice little metaphor. So it's not, oh, will I go for it? Will I go for a drink? And someone says, oh, why not? You deserve it. Okay, you're gone. You have something that you've thought about, and it just makes you more accountable for your actions, I suppose, you know?
Yeah, I love that, and I apply it all the time. And I've got loads of little boats, you know.
Yeah,
brilliant. Where it's about love and kindness, it's about training, if it's about work, if it's about the podcast, I'll throw in the little boat, you know. And I don't just willy-nilly say yes to things. I go, well, let's make the boat go quicker. And I love it. It's so simplistic, and you can just carry loads of boats around.
Yeah, got loads of little boats.
It's interesting. I've listened to, I love the Innovation Show by Aidan McCullen, and he had a guy on called Bruce Lipton, and he talks about the biology of thoughts. And then I listened to that, and then I listened to your analogy or story. You talk about the chicken and the eagle with Anthony DeMello, is it?
Anthony DeMello, yeah.
And again, and they both kind of come together. It's the environment that you put yourself in. It's the thoughts that you choose. Could you share us that little story of the chicken and the eagle?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories. So there's a book for anyone to read. That's my favorite book, Awareness by Anthony DeMello. And this story is at the very start of the book. And it's a story Anthony DeMello used to tell, but it's someone tells at the start of his book. It was wrote after his death. And the story is, so this farmer walks out into his yard and he finds this egg in the field, and it was an eagle's egg. So he walks out to he doesn't know, he can't see the nest. He doesn't know. I think the nest was up too high, and so he says, right, what I do, he says, right, I'm going to put it in the chicken coop. So the little eagle hatches over time, and he's in a chicken coop, so he thinks he's a chicken. So he does what chickens do. He sees the other little chicken, so he flaps like a chicken, clucks like a chicken, eats worms like a chicken, does all chicken stuff. So the years pass by. The young eagle still thinks he's a little chicken. He's doing all these chicken things, and he's growing older as the years go by. And then one day he's out in the yard with his siblings, his chicken siblings, and he looks up the sky, and there's this beautiful golden eagle flying through the sky, like flapping its wings. One flap soaring through the sky, and he's like, "Wow, what's that?" And the other chickens say, "That's the king of the skies. That's the majestic eagle." He says, "But you're just a lowly chicken, and that's all you'll ever be." So the little eagle died thinking he was a chicken. So it's such a tragic bleeding story. You're waiting for the nice ending to it, you know.
Yeah.
And what Anthony DeMello was trying to say was that most people are going through life as eagles living like chickens. They don't believe in their own ability to soar, and they're not living out their true potential. I remember reading that, and I remember saying, I'm a fucking eagle and I'm going to be living as an eagle. I remember it had a profound effect on me. It did. It says, fuck that, I'm an eagle. And I made the decision, and it's something I always bring myself back to, saying we've so much more potential, and it's to do with our beliefs. And what Andy DeMello really gets into, it's around the self-awareness thing. That we're being yanked around by the world. We're on social media. We're watching reality TV. We're feeding into the garbage. We're going out drinking, going out getting drunk. And here, it's all right to have a glass of wine or a glass of, but it's not okay to get drunk all the time. It's not okay to be addicted to your phone. That's being yanked around by the world, and you're not being aware. You're not observing who you truly are. And he would define. He didn't live in the time of social media and smartphones, but he would be saying anyone that lives like that is an eagle living like a chicken. But you need to get away from that stuff and get a bit of self-awareness about you, and then you can explore your true potential. And I just think it was a beautiful little story.
That's fantastic. I remember my brother used to say years ago, how can you soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys?
Well, here, and this is a key piece as well. It's one of my principles in life is neutralize negativity as best you can. I think Oprah Winfrey says surround yourself with people that will lift you higher. And like you can't always be around that. And you need to lift other people higher as well sometimes. But you've got to be around people that want to learn, or people that will help you learn. That's my thing. I won't be around people like negativity vampires that want to argue, condemn, and criticize all the time. I just don't do it. Don't do it. So I'm around people that either I can help and want to be helped, or people that will help me. And they're not turkeys, put that way.
It's like and it's like the crab mentality, isn't it? You put a load of crabs in a bucket and they'll all stop each other from getting out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You really do. People don't want you. People in your circle, or I'm not saying my friends or your friends, but let's say we just say a random circle. People don't want to see you stepping out, whether it be losing weight, getting a new job, because it reflects back on them. And I've seen it, people in my job, people getting promotions, and other people going, "Oh, I'm doing nothing with my life," and I'm like, "This is not about you."
Yeah.
Celebrate that this person has been bold and brave and gave it a go. But people straight away look inwards and go, "Oh, I've not done enough," and you know,
it's that comparison thing. And I remember hearing, I think it came from Simon Sinek. I've sort of crafted my own little quote on it. It was like, joy comes from advancement. Oh yeah, don't compare. Stay in your own lane. Joy comes from advancement, not comparison. And that just always stuck with me. It's like, if you compare yourself to others, you've already lost, because there's always going to be somebody better than you at anything. Like, that's just the nature of the fucking world, like, you know. So it's just I like compared myself to me old self. How much better am I than yesterday? How can I improve on yesterday? That's my comparison that I like to look at, you know.
Yeah, that's absolutely that's a savage one. The lovely one that I heard you say, it's the hell yeah or no, right? And I thought it was brilliant. I had a little bit of difficulty around it because I was trying to apply it to little parts of my life, and there's parts I can use it and I'm going, yeah, it works there. But let's say in my relationships, or there's parts that trip me up. Could you share a bit of that with us?
Yeah, so that comes from the amazing Derek Sivers. We were chatting to him earlier, but recently reached out to Derek, and I hope to be meeting up with him pretty soon. And his whole thing is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. And what he means, that really is ideally, for me, that's the first step in a 3-step decision-making framework that I use myself. The second one is me bow. And the third step is journal. I journal on it to get to the guts of something if I still can't make a decision. But the first thing I do is, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. So basically, if I'm, give us an example at the moment. So I'm getting asked for a good few podcasts at the moment, and I literally just, if that keeps on continuing over time, I literally won't have that amount of time. So even though I want to do it, it's not going to be, I'll be like, oh yeah, I want to do it, but I can't really. Is it hell yeah? No, it's not. So I'm going to have to say no. All right, I always do it with me writing all the time, and I would be like, oh, there's a paragraph, do I like it? And I say, is it hell yes? No, it's not. No, gone, boom. So it just gives me that clarity, and sometimes I might get it wrong, but having that clarity of mind to make that decision, if I even get it wrong 20% of the time, but get it right 80% of the time, that clarity makes it worthwhile. But as you were saying, you can't use it all the time. Like, I don't go into the shop in the morning and be like, me breakfast, a hell yes or no. Like this, you just make decisions sometimes, and so it's not for everything. And if for relationships, you can't be like, you go on the pictures tonight. It's not a hell yes, fuck on, like, you know.
See, my
Yeah.
ADD,
Slap in the head.
I tried to use it everywhere. You know what I mean? I'm a bit anal about something like this. I even throw in a hell yeah when I'm inspired by a roll.
Or even if you do it in your head. No,
I do be high fiving the ones and across the counter.
Hell yeah.
That's a hell yeah.
That's a hell yeah. But it is brilliant. And where Derek Sivers and all of that gang, Tim Ferriss, as we discussed, where they really use it is when you start getting, and what I've noticed is when you start getting a bit of success in your life, like, I've had a very relative bit of success so far, but I'd have a lot of people, and maybe, like, I had an awful lot, for me, for a while, it was a hell yeah for me to respond to every email I got, to every social media message I got. And that's just something I wanted to do. But it's literally got to the stage where if I done that, that's all I would do, because I'm getting a lot of messages now, and I just can't respond personally. Like, I was getting some of them, and they'd be an essay. It'd probably take me 2 days to respond to it properly. Like, you know, like I'd have to write a blog post to respond to this new question. And that's why I write I'm on podcast. That's why I write about what I do when I do these talks, to give the message. But people sometimes just want this one-on-one kind of thing, you know, and I just hadn't got the time. So I started to make a decision. Look, it's not and that wouldn't really come into the hell yeah bracket. That'd be a little bit different. But I suppose it's just really in the moment decisions. Is it a hell yes? And what I do is I go with me gut. Is me gut screaming hell yes? If it is, I do it. If it's not, I don't. And it's really, do you know what? It's really for, let's say, opportunities, let's say in business, or let's say in career-wise. What I found was, if I say yes to too many things now that were like six, so there's a nice little metaphor for it, right? Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. If it's an 8, 9, or a 10, it's a hell yeah, you do it. If it's a 1 to 6, it's no, you don't. But a lot of things fall in that 7 mark. Say, well, I do it. It's a 7 in the middle. But do you know what? That's a no, because it means it's a fear of missing out. It's a sense of obligation, or just plain fear. I was asked to do a radio show not so long ago. It was only a minor radio show out in Blanchardstown, but I had my own show, and my ego wanted to do it. And I was like, fear of missing out. Yeah, I'd like to do it. Did this? Maybe they done me a bit of a favor bringing me on at first, so a sense of obligation. But I remember saying to myself, "Is a hell yeah or no?" No, that's not a hell yeah. It's a no, and I didn't do it. And it was a great decision, because it opened up time slots for me to do other things. And back to that as well. Sorry for harping on about this, but the reason why I reached out to Derek Sivers was, I got the scholarship to I got a scholarship to do my PhD in Trinity College, and I was sort of I was looking at doing a project, and I wasn't forced into it. I was sort of forced myself into it to an extent as well. It's what expected of you in academia. You just go with the flow of the department you're in, and you do sort of what aligns to their lab or whatever like that. And I was going to be doing like a data, and it would have been a lot of data analysis and a project that I wasn't keen on. I would have been doing a lot of coding, sitting in a lab probably for 2 years, learning how to code and crunching data, statistical analysis. I don't think I would have even finished my PhD. So I remember saying to myself, is that a hell yes or a no? And this was a big ass decision, and I brought it down to this at the end of the day, and I said, you know what? That's a big fat no. That's a big fat no. And I said no to that. And I went to my professor, and he wasn't too keen. He wasn't too pleased with me that I said no to that. And he was a little bit disappointed. But it turned out in the end that we worked it out in the end that I was able to do a project that I liked, the one I'm doing in the Rutland Centre now, and the one with the language stuff that I love now and I'm really energized by. And I still got the scholarship. So that saved a year of my life. And that's why I reached out to Derek Sivers to thank him. Derek, thank you for saving me a year of your life with your hell yes, no. And that's why I'm actually probably going to be meeting up with Derek Sivers just to have a yap, have a chat, have lunch. It was basically just to thank him, really, you know.
Yeah, well, look, you've been generous with your time with us here. I reached out to you and you got back to me. I'm delighted. I'm delighted to capture you now before you do go to the stars, and we can't get a look at much of you.
No, never, man, never. No, it's really like it'd be like I love people reaching out to me. I love people reaching out to me on social media and stuff like this. And do you know what it is like? It's really even with yourself, like what you call it. If you gave me a shout, let's say in a month's time, oh, do you want to do another podcast? I know you'd understand. I just say, look, man, it's like I wouldn't start sprouting out. Oh, it's not hell, yeah, no. But just being super honest with people as well. But it's just the social media thing when I'm talking about that, it's when sometimes you just get big long messages. Like I had one message there recently and she wasn't best pleased with me at all, and she was asking me about I have a whole thing about a compass for life, and it's to do with values and principles. And I remember I had a client at one stage that it took me 2 sessions to go through it with her talking face to face. And your woman, this girl, had read an article I read and was asking me about, it was a big long-winded email about all these details of how she can work this out through her life. And I sent her back an email and says, look, if you can get me back with sort of clearer answer, says, I just haven't got the time to answer stuff like that. And she was really disgusted with me. She sent me a photograph like of her thing for the Drioc saying, I'm not going to your talk now and all. Like, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Like, there's nothing I could do about it. And there was other implications of it as well. Like, it was a bit, it's other details on that as well. But I just literally hadn't got the time. So, but I love people reaching out to me. But I think I'm trying to get in touch with people now that are way put further down the path than me. And I suppose it's just about respecting other people's time. That people, the more successful people get, the busier they get and get more people they have. And I suppose it's just always looking at different avenues of how to approach people as well. Like, see this now. This was super enjoyable. I would do this next week. This is great crack.
I can't believe people's kindness for coming on. Like, you got back to me pretty swiftly. You were kind with your time. Other people, like I've interviewed 60 people, and I can't believe how generous Irish people have been and with their time. It blows me away, and I'm honoured and I'm grateful. Like, I scratch my head going, when we finish up, I probably won't sleep tonight going, that was nuts. Like, I mean, you still having this conversation, like, about, like, how did I get here?
From where we came from, like the things that we're talking about, just like we were laughing about earlier, like our old sads to say, look at them 2 Egypts.
Yeah, and I was telling you earlier when I was saying to you, mate, that I need to look after myself. I would have been ashamed to hear that before. Come here,
it's gas.
Go on.
And it's just on that, but it's like, and it's nearly a payback thing as well. Because when I see people giving me time that are way further along the path, you have to give every. So we're all on this roundabout going in circles and circles. I mean, if we all help each other, wouldn't the world just be a great place? Like,
100%. If I ever hear of anyone starting a podcast or even going anywhere near that, I throw my name into the hat and say, please contact me. Let me help you in any way I can, because people have been generous with me along the way. And if I can give you any of the information I've gathered along the way, I do it. Time is such a valuable commodity. I'm willing to give that to people.
Yeah, it really is.
Come here, a question we were talking about earlier, anti-fragility and whole resilience. Give us your thoughts around that.
Yeah, right. So resilience and resilience is fantastic, and the importance of being resilient cannot be underestimated. But there was something about resilience that sort of gets me to an extent, and I suppose the whole language thing as well. But for me, and it's like this: if you're fragile, under adversity, you'll crack. That's the essence of fragility. You won't cope and you'll crack. If you're resilient, you won't crack under adversity, but you're still taking a hit. You're getting a smack of life, is smacking you in the face, and you're being resilient to it. But there's only so many smacks you can take, like, at the end of the day, So resilient is great, but there's only so many smacks you can take. So what I talk about I read it by a guy. I read a book by a guy called Nassim Taleb, and the book is called Anti-Fragility, and it means the opposite of being fragile. It means you grow through adversity. So you take life smacks you in the face, but not only are you resilient to it, you grow as a result. There's a great metaphor for it that the mythical creature Hydra. People might know Hydra from the Marvel universe, and it's like if you chop off one head of Hydra, two heads grow back. So the real Hydra is the Lermian Hydra. It was like this mythical serpent snake with 10 heads. But if someone went up with a sword and chopped off one head, two heads grow back. So when you hurt it, it gets stronger. So that's a great metaphor for anti-fragility. So for me,
savage.
when it's great metaphor, isn't it? So for me, like let's say a negative thing in my life was my addiction, but I've come back stronger for it. I'm a 10 times better, I don't say better person, but a 10 times stronger person than I ever was before addiction. Addiction made me stronger. It was like the learning through addiction made me stronger. Another example was I remember I had to go back to work and I had to do deliveries for 3 years for pittance. But I says in that car for 5 hours, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, for 5 hours every weekend, each night, 15 hours I spent in that car. But I learned podcasts, I listened to audiobooks, I listened to meditation tapes. I learned the career I'm having today. So instead of like start saying, oh, I have to do this bleeding crap just to finance myself through college, I use it as an opportunity to learn. It's like when you fail, use that as an opportunity to fail better next time. So it's like the failure for someone that's fragile will be like, oh, I'm crap, I'm brittle, and they crumble. Someone that's resilient will be like, ah, yeah, I failed, but I'll be grand, I'll power through it. But someone that's anti-fragile, right, I failed, but I learned from this and I will do it 10 times better in the future. And that's really the essence of turning adversity on its head and making it a positive.
Absolutely. And I used to say that for years, I had sexual abuse in my life. And I never told anyone because I said, if I hold this, it means I'm strong and I can hold all this together. And that's my superpower. And obviously it fell apart and all that. But I still go back to it. I used to call myself like rubber. I'm bendy and flexible, but I'll never break. And I actually now reflect back on that and still think I'm strong and still think the life that I've led, made me stronger. And it's kind of come back around full circle,
Yeah. And it's even and that's anti-fragility there. And I suppose for the years while that's a great example of it. So I suppose for the years when you were keeping it into yourself, that was resilience. You were being resilient. But I suppose when you've really accepted that and spoke about it and you're feeling feelings now about it, that's the anti-fragile piece coming in there because you're growing you're learning from negative from hiding them feelings all the time. Now you're able to express yourself and you're stronger for it. Like that's anti-fragility at work there,
And I do now believe that's part of my heart brand. This is what I'm all about, and it's about our past, and it's about like what you have done with the book and your life and the story you're telling. It's based upon what would have been perceived to be a broken part, a fragile part of your life, and you're using that as a catalyst to make change possible.
Yeah, that's it.
Who are the people, books, inspirations that you look to now? Who are your guidance?
We mentioned a couple. Books for me. I'd have a couple of levels of that. So from the spirituality side of things, there's three big books for me, and it would be Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now or Stillness Speaks. One of them two books, both brilliant. There's a book by Michael Singer called Untethered Soul. Epic book, up there with The Power of Now. It's that good, and not many people have heard of that as much. It's absolutely brilliant. And then my altogether favorite is Awareness by Anthony DeMello. I just love that book. I read it once a year and I'll read it probably 50 times for the rest of my life. It's a short, quick book, but every time I read it I get something more out of it. I just love it. So that'd be the spirituality side of things. From the other perspective, I'd have a lot of books. My God, I'll run them through because I suppose people are listening to this. But Tim Ferriss, I love Tim Ferriss. So his book, Tribe of Mentors, was a huge inspiration to me. That was the reason why I reached out to all the CEOs in Ireland and why I'm getting mentored by them. I was like, I want a tribe of my own. So I owe Tim Ferriss a lot. I want to meet Tim Ferriss someday. I sent him a text one day, not a text, on Twitter saying, I don't want to meet you, so I want to be on your podcast. See you soon. So that's the plan. I don't know whether he read it or not, but that's the plan. But I love Tim Ferriss and I owe him a lot for his work. Darby, I'm trying to think. Essentialism by Greg McKeown is a way just to simplify our life. It's differentiating the trivial few or the many, the trivial, making essential the trivial. Oh, I'm getting that wrong. It's a minimalist kind of book. So what's essential in your life? Getting rid of all the bullshit that's out there. But it's a fantastic read. Another one, and it had a huge impact on my life, by David Schwartz, The Magic of Thinking Big. Groundbreaking, absolutely groundbreaking book. Had a huge impact on me. And there was another book, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible title, and it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, because it sounds very manipulative.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
yeah.
the name, I think I heard this on another podcast. It should be called How to Be Compassionate, because
Okay.
it's how to be compassionate to others, because it's a way of being. It's to do with people principles, and it's a way of just being in the world. It's an absolutely brilliant book. There'll be lots of other books that had a big impact on me. And a philosopher I love, my favorite philosopher, Marcus Aurelius. I've read a lot of his stuff. They would be like my mentors, my first mentors: Marcus Aurelius, Tolle, Anthony de Mello. And people are always looking for mentors, but do you know, the mentors that are out there are really the books. That's where all of my first mentors came from, and then other mentors will turn up as you go along the path then as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. And a lot of the stuff I've read, I came across, but I will be taking note of some of them books, especially the one about Andy DeMello. I think that's going to be first on me to-do list to do. Uh, you talk about visualization, and I love visualization. And I remember when I was studying, had visions of myself being a sports scientist. I had visions of myself doing a podcast. Can you share your thoughts around visualization?
Yeah, and for me, my thoughts on visualization are, and first and foremost, you can't be visualizing things that you can't act upon. So it's like, I often hear people saying, "Oh, geez, I wish I win the lotto," and they're dreaming of winning the lotto. But I think it's in The Secret. I'm not even 100% sure, but it's like, if you visualize your dreams, they'll come true. But for me, you've got to be able to act upon them. I visualize things that I can impact, I can influence. So if I'm given opportunities throughout the day, I'll act towards them because they align with my visualizations. So some of my visualizations would be, I'm always visualizing myself writing one of my books, my second book, in the Alps or in Bali. So I want to go traveling and write my second book over there, be after my PhD. I often visualize. I remember I used to visualize on doing a big gig in front of loads of people, and I've done that now on 2 occasions. So I remember saying, "Oh my God, that visualization came true." So that was very reinforcing as well. Like that was a huge thing for me, because I used to be terrible at public speaking. Like, I used to be so afraid of public speaking, but I
Yeah,
visualized
me too.
I visualized getting applauded by people, and it's came true. Like, you know what I mean? Another thing, what have I been visualizing? I'm getting a bit of a mental blank there. Something I've been visualizing recently was, so I visualized myself being creative, writing my book at the moment. Say, I nearly visualized creativity flowing through me veins and just being super creative and going through flow as I'm writing the book. And I'm like, oh, just being super creative. And I visualize myself on bloody the Ryan Tubridy show, or on the radio when the book launch comes out, and I'm
It's a
going
fucking
around.
nightmare getting on the Ryan Tubridy show. I'm only joking.
But
Graham Norton.
Graham Norton, yeah, let's go with that. Graham Norton, yeah, jeez, yeah, that's gonna be me newbie, yeah, definitely. But it's these kinds of things. Or meeting, I want to meet Russell Brand. It's like an itch I want to scratch. I want to meet Russell Brand. So again, if anyone's out there and you know Russell Brand, put
Yeah,
me in
I'm
touch with
trying to
him.
get Imelda May. She only lives around the corner. My
Oh,
mate hangs around. Her sister hangs around, bro. He does be around there at Christmas. They do be all dancing and singing. I'm like, will you talk about the podcast? Get her out.
yeah,
You got
yeah. She's amazing. She is. That'd be deadly. Yeah.
deadly buzz.
And just visualizing and just that kind of stuff. And the bottom line is that if I'm going through the day, I'm gonna act towards stuff. Like, if I'm given an opportunity to meet some of my heroes, I'm gonna send that email. If I'm given an opportunity to do a bigger talk, so instead of saying, "Oh, geez, I'm not there yet, I might make a show of myself," I'm gonna act on that. If I'm given, I used to have terrible issues around self-worth, around money. I didn't like charging people for it. I was offering to do everything for free. It was crazy.
I'm like that all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So now I'm like, no, I'm going to charge people, because money is another form of energy. And if I want to get to Bali and write me books and give me message to a bigger scale, I need to value myself. So I'm going to act on that stuff. And that's the goal of visualization for me. That's where the real juice and the visualization is. The stuff you're going to act towards. If you're visualizing something every morning, you're not going to be just doing it in a vacuum. You're going to start acting on that stuff. Take the small steps that will get you there.
Brilliant. Well, I'm gonna be terribly selfish here, and I'm gonna ask you for your help. I'm in a process of my life now. I've got the podcast. I'd love to do more creative stuff. I'd love to. I've this vision of going somewhere. I really believe the podcast will take off because my spiritual purpose is to spread the message, and that will in itself do the work itself. I'm trying to find a vision of where I want to go. How do you help with that?
How do you do that, right? And the first thing that jumps into my mind straight away is when you don't. Oh, I wish I looked at that. I have a whole section. I'll send you that, man. I'm just gonna write that down actually. Purpose, because I have tools on that I can't remember right now. It's how to find your passion, how to find your why, and go, and tools to go in that direction.
I'm very excited about everything I do. I'm excited about this. And as I
Yeah,
said before, I'm like a dog with three Mickeys. I don't know what
yeah,
to do with myself. I'm like, I'm going somewhere, but I just don't know where I'm fucking going.
yeah.
And it's deadly.
And that's brilliant. And I think what you need to do with that is so straight away you need to make it concrete. So straight away it's great to say, right, I have loads of energy, I want to do loads of stuff, but then it's what do you want to do? So you need to start making concrete plans. For me, I've talked to a lot of younger students because I went back to college and saying there's a great in the Tim Ferriss book. One of the questions he asks, because Tim Ferriss's book is like 130 of the world's top performers. And he basically asked them, what advice would you give? Now it's to a young college student coming fresh out of college, but it's very much to do with someone full of passion, full of energy, to find their purpose in life. What would you do? And it's a great tool. So I advise you to get that book and have a look at that question throughout that book. It's amazing. But a key piece for me would be the journal on it. That's the third step in my decision making framework. And I remember basically, I wrote an article. I'll send you this article as well, an article about journaling. And it was basically, I'd forgotten that I wanted to write a book. And I remember I was sort of like I was journaling, and I just started scribbling things in. What do I want to do? And I put something I was writing things. I wanted academia, blah. I wanted skiing, just random stuff, just garb, brain dump, throwing it all on a page. I'm like, there's something missing, there's something missing, there's something missing. And then all of a sudden I thought, geez, my book. How did I forget about my book? Now it turns out it's not the same book that I'm writing now. It was another book that I wanted to write that I might go back to at some stage. And I put that in the middle of the page. And I was a half an hour at this journal before I thought of something that was super important to me. And all of a sudden then everything connected to that. Academia connected to that. Connection, being connected to people connected to that. I can't think of all the different aspects of it now. Going skiing connected to that. And now looking at it now, I want to go over to the Alps and write my second book. I'll be skiing while I'm over there. Now writing this book has connected me with other people, reaching out, being bold with people. And it's nearly just, sometimes you just have to do a brain dump. There's a thing with our memory, right? And it's like 7 plus or minus 2. We can only remember in our working memory, that's our memory that's working on the process all the time. You can only remember 7 items, but it's plus or minus 2. Some people have an amazing memory. They can remember 9 things. Some people have a shit memory, that's 5 things, but that's the max. That's why phone numbers are only 7 numbers, because we can't remember more than that. And basically, if you're thinking of anything, you can only remember so much at any one time. So journaling, basically, if you're just thinking, it's very hard to connect the dots on things. But if you journal, and journaling is just putting something on a page, that's all journaling is, sticking it on a page. If you start throwing that on a page, all of a sudden you start seeing connection. So if you at the moment, let's say, Matt, and you start putting down, right, podcast, 3 Mickeys, energy, all these kinds of things, energy, passion. I'm just off the top of my head right now. Brian, Tim Ferriss, Derek Sivers, Imelda May, and music. Just brain dump, throw it all out there, and just see what comes up. Here's an example of this, and what I wrote this article around. Tim Ferriss was struggling with his mental health stuff. He was struggling with his finance. He was struggling with a couple of things. Now, he had a lot of money, struggling to what to do with his money, I suppose. That was his struggle. But he was struggling with mental health and a few existential crises or whatever like that. And he journaled, he asked himself this question. Here's a question, Matt. This is the question you should ask yourself. What would this look like if it were easy? Right? Brain dump on that. What would your life look like if it were easy? And you could say, I'd have Imelda May's phone number. I'd have Russell Brand's phone number. I would have a life coach. I would have access to the most intelligent person in the world. All these mad things you could throw on the page, right? So Tim Ferriss done that, right? And he says 95% of the stuff that came out was bullshit. And it usually is with journaling. You're looking for the nuggets of gold within that. But one of his nuggets was, I would have a tribe of mentors from the best of the world to answer every question. He reached out to his tribe of mentors. He reached out to the Dalai Lama. Like, he didn't get the Dalai Lama, but he went wild on it. He did. And now
That's mad, because when I heard you talking about getting mentors, I was like, wow, I would love that. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, and that's why he done. And now his book is Arnold Schwarzenegger, all of these top stars. Now, so when I read his book, I'm like, I want my own tribe of mentors. And then I sent an email out to all Ireland's most successful people, and now I'm getting mentored by a couple of the top CEOs in the country just by
Yeah,
reaching bloody out. Do you know who was one of the first people I reached out to? John Boyle. You know, Mr. Boyle Sports.
yeah,
So John Boyle was the second person. I won't go into the details. The
yeah.
first person I met was one of the richest people in Ireland, and I didn't even know. I didn't even do my research. It was ridiculous. It was. I told him at one stage he might want to come to a talk, or one of his colleagues be coming to a talk to watch me talking in Trinity. And I told that I was here. I was giving him directions. I noticed a few weeks later that the name of his family, they own the building. It's called the house. It's got Nocton. It's the Nocton family. Nocton House. And I'm giving him directions like bleeding Egypt. So that was my first one. But John Boyle was the second person I met, and I only got 15 minutes. It was Fergal Nocton. I'm sure you'd be all right with me saying it. And I got 15 minutes with Fergal Nocton. So it's my second ever interview with these high achievers, whatever, like some of the richest men in Ireland and most successful. And I thought, right, I get 15 minutes with John Boyle. I went up to Dundalk, met John Boyle at the offices. He brought me out in his big Range Rover, sat down for 3 hours, and we're friends now. I might be staying up in his gaff over the summer, like over the Christmas up in Stratham. He says, come up and meet the family. He's over in America at the moment. And he turned around to me and he says, Brian, do you know what? Do you know why you're sitting here right now? Because he doesn't course. John doesn't course, but he says, because you're living on bonus time. You don't give a fuck. The name of my book is Bonus Time. I got that from John. Mad, isn't it?
That's deadly. You
Mad.
deserve it. It's fucking deadly.
He was in addiction as well. He built but he's all right with me saying this. I asked him, is it okay to say he built Boyle Sports on the 12-step program. So he's 37 years clean, 38 years clean now.
Fantastic, fantastic. Look, I'm very mindful of time. I've got 2 more questions. We'll get through it.
Away.
We had a great chat beforehand. That was even as good as the fucking podcast. I love the story you talk about the fish, and why I resonated with it so much was it was consciousness to me. It was awareness. It was everything. Give us a little insight to the fish story that you told. I love it.
Yeah.
I hope you forget something out of it.
Yeah. So I'll start with the story. So there's 2 little fish swimming in the sea, swimming in the ocean. And they're swimming along, 2 little young fish, and they're swimming along. And all of a sudden, this older, wiser fish swims through their path and says, all right, lads, how's the water? So the 2 little fish give him a smile, nod, and swim on their way. So they're swimming for a few minutes quietly. And then one of them just turns around to the other and says, what the hell is water? And he was like, they were looking at each other. They didn't even know what water was. And the metaphor, what that parable really says is that sometimes the most obvious and important realities are the most difficult to see. Sometimes we're swimming in the shit and we can't see it. So for me, that was me inner voice, me compulsive thinking, the self-talk, the lack of awareness, the not feeling feelings, and just being caught up in the bullshit of modern life. I was so enveloped in it and so wrapped up in it that I couldn't see how problematic it was. I was like a little fish swimming around the ocean looking for water being the solution to my problems, and I just couldn't see it. It's like the water really, I suppose, is awareness in a way, where it's like it's right in front of you and it's there if you let it go. That's probably not a great metaphor for it if that's awareness, but it's like it could be your troubles as well. But it's like we're swimming around and we can't even see our own problems because they're so close to us. And they're just like, if you're a compulsive thinker, I know a lot of people a bit, and I talk about, have you got a voice in your head? And they say, I don't have a voice in my head, but all you ever do is think. That verbal monologue going on all the time.
Yeah,
And you don't think you have a voice now because that's who they are. How could you observe the voice if that's who you are? And that's what it is. It's so embedded in your reality that that's all you know. And that's the little fish story right there, you know?
Yeah, and I can really connect with some of the stuff that you say, being the watcher of your thoughts.
Yeah.
And when you're the fish and you don't realize the water, and then that's where you are, we're in an unconscious. Now I've become that. Well, somewhat, a lot of times, you get caught up sometimes. Now I've become the watcher of my thoughts. I've become conscious of my consciousness.
Yeah.
You know,
it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Self-awareness is one of the, even in brain injury rehabilitation, awareness, insight, and awareness. It's so vital to our whole consciousness. Right, we're running long on time. What's the one thing you would like people to take away from this interview after listening to it?
Oh, the one thing, and do you know what? I always come back to the one thing, and the one thing, the main thing, the first thing is action. If you want to make a change in your life, it's so simple that it's like this, the fish swimming in the water. It's like, I know lots of people that want to make changes in their life. They want to make changes, but they don't make changes. You have to make changes to change. And some people are saying, oh, I want to change, I want to change, but they're doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. It's like, it's a great metaphor for that. It's like someone digging a hole to get out of the hole. They keep on digging. Say, I'll just keep digging, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, I'll get out of this hole. They're not going to get out of the hole if they keep digging. You have to do something differently. And I remember hearing that metaphor. Someone came along and tried to help them, and let's say I'm down the hole in addiction. I'm digging to get out of the hole, taking more drugs, digging deeper, digging deeper. Someone throws me a ladder, let's call it the meditation ladder, and I say, oh, nice one. Get the ladder, and I start digging with the ladder. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what we do, and it's like it's back to the fish swimming in the water. It's like we can't see that we're just like doing the same thing over and over and over. So nothing changes if nothing changes. So the thing is that you've got to act, put in actions. So let's say for today, let's say what we talked about earlier. I think the boat is a great metaphor for it. Pick a value, pick one goal, pick one. That's it. Pick one value, pick one goal. Let it be honesty, kindness. Let it be the goal be good mental health or making more money, whatever you want it to be. And say to yourself on a daily basis, when you're faced with a decision, will that make my boat go faster? Put a reminder in your phone to remind you, will it make your boat go faster? So you're thinking about that kind of stuff. But action, you've got to act. And then let's say a minute's meditation or a couple of deep breaths every day, but do it. You've got to put the action in. But the key piece is, right, you've got to act. That's a given to change. But some people don't do that. But the key piece is consistency. And that's where people fall down. You've got to be consistent. And I can understand why people fall down, because the word consistency is I remember I used to think consistency, it sounds rather boring, and I'm spontaneous. I don't want to be consistent. Consistency is the essence of leadership. It's the essence of authority. It's the essence of success. If you're consistent, you will transform your whole life. That's where all the transformations come from, is these consistent steps over and over and over and over. So I wake up in the morning, it's not like, oh, I have to do my morning routine. I just do it because it's a keystone habit. It's just what I do. And once you break through that consistency barrier and they become habits, it's just what you do. So the takeaway message is to pick one or two little things. Let's say just one thing every day. Pick a value, pick a goal, and ask yourself, will it make your boat go faster? Are you aligning yourself to make your boat go faster? Are the decisions you're taking during the day, has it made your boat go faster? Reflect on the decisions you made through the day and just see where that brings you. And I think building self-awareness is key as well. So introduce 30 seconds or 60 seconds of meditation into your life, but do it every day. Them two little takeaway points. But then baby steps could develop into life-changing stuff. They really could.
Wow. What can I say? How can I thank you? Since I've sent you a message, all the reading I've done, you've given me fucking supersonic fuel for me boat. My boat is going bananas. You're driving me out of the edge here. Now, Brian, I can't thank you enough. You've been so important in my life the last couple of weeks. You know, and when you come across people like you did with Derek Sievers, Tim Ferriss, Edgar Tolley, you've just come along at the right time, and I hope people that are listening to it, the life is at the coming this way anyway, and it's brilliant. I hope people get where I got out. It was fantastic.
Do you know, I've had the time of my life, man. I really did. And here, down the line, I'd love to do. I did this. This is just fun for me. So down the line, I'd love to do another podcast with you. If you ever, like, if you wanted me back down the future to discuss something specific, you wanted to go on a specific topic that you think I might hit or anything like that, give us a shout, because this was just fun. We loved it.
Deadly. And I could really connect with you. I don't know, because of the language you use, your accent, your story, the energy that you give off. I normally find interviews over Skype difficult, because I read body language, I pick up on things, cues. With this, your energy is just shone through, and it's savage.
I think that's a synergy thing as well, Paul. But you got didn't I tell you at the start?
You went the whole interview now saying, Paul.
Interview at the start. I said I'm going to call you Paul at some stage.
I'm going to call you Adam.
Oh, yeah, Adam. Yeah, that makes it, doesn't it? maybe me subconscious done that on purpose for the joke.
Yeah,
that's good.
Turkey.
Brilliant. But yeah, it's likewise. It's the synergy there. It just made it very easy for me, you know. Brilliant. It's great questions. Yeah, super stuff.
I really appreciate that. You're an absolute legend.
See you later, pal.